Mike Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer Hobby Supply. It's been a long time since I've done a how-to. I've been slacking off a little bit. I'm going to try and get back on track here, so to speak. I have one here. We picked it random. Robin picked it random. It says, "Hello Mike, Doug Dilly here. I have been away from N-scale railroading for at least 11 years and would like to pick up the hobby again, but I'm having trouble deciding on what code 55 track to use. My topic suggestion for N-scale how-to channel is for a comparison between the code 55 track that is available these days, in particular Atlas Microengineering and Pico. All others would be welcome as well." So we're going to take a look at some of the 55 track. The only one out of this bunch that I have used is the Pico. So I'm a little bit biased, but we're going to talk about some of the things that some of the guys have talked about on some of the forums with the other brands and the other two brands, and let's take a look. Okay, everybody, we're going to start with Atlas because it's an A. But I'm going to show you some of the turnouts, and I'm going to talk probably while I take a little bit of video, and then I will also try and take some stills of some of this stuff. So let's get to Atlas. Okay guys, here's a shot of Atlas 55, Pico 55, Microengineering Wood Tie 55, and Microengineering Concrete Tie 55. And I just want to take this so that you can get a size comparison of the tie spacing. You can see that the Atlas track has a relatively, or if not prototypically, correct tie spacing for North America, while the Pico next to it is here, this one, has the European tie spacing, a very close American tie spacing on the Microengineering wood tie, a little bit further apart than the Atlas, so I'm not sure how these compare with the actual dimensions. I think the Atlas looks a little better, but the Microengineering rail spikes look a lot better. And then the concrete ties, I don't know what the actual spacing out in the real world is. However, it's really nice looking track. So it's hard to compare that with the wood tie stuff. So anyway, there's a comparison between the three, and now we'll actually start on discussing Atlas. Okay, I'm going to try and get a close-up of the Atlas side profile as well as I can with the video camera. You can see that I think it's very nice looking track, actually. I do hear that it's a little fragile to put down, and that's not to say that you can't put it down or anybody can't put it down, but if you get a little bit aggressive with it, it has a tendency to pop out of the spike heads there, which is what actually holds the rail to the ties. And you'll find that to be true with the Microengineering track as well. So anytime you're using 55, with the exception of Pico, you're going to have to be extremely careful in laying it, that you don't twist the rail or anything, because it'll pop right out of the ties. The one beauty of the Atlas track is that it's sectional. It has a bunch of sectional track, and it has a lot of things turnout-wise that the others don't offer. One of them is this really large 21 and a quarter by 15 inch curved turnout, left and right. You can also buy all the different sizes of sectional track, which some guys prefer, some guys don't, but it is handy to have that option available, I think. And they have their turnouts are really nicely done. You'll see that there's a little eyelet there on the right hand side, which is for powering the frog. I think that's a nice touch that they put that there, so if you're using a tortoise machine or something, or any other kind that you want to power the frog, it's not a problem at all. One of the issues that has been discussed before is if you use any older equipment on Atlas's 55 track, it has a tendency to have the, and I don't know whether they've corrected this or not, somebody may correct me, but the grooves in the frog, where the flange goes, was on the original ones was not extremely deep, and therefore you had some older rolling stock with taller flanges hitting within the frog, and also hitting the ties, the spikes on the ties. While like I said, I have not used this track personally, but I know that there's thousands of people out there using it successfully. Aside from that, that's about it with their turnouts and any kind of complaints there has been. I haven't had anybody return any to me. I haven't heard of anybody returning anybody returning any to Atlas or anything. They did a little bit of complaining about them, but like I said, it's nothing that can't be overcome. And really, as far as I'm concerned, everybody should get into the 21st century and start using low-profile wheels anyway, instead of pizza cutters or anything that has a larger profile. So that's kind of just a general outlook on Atlas's track. Once again, let me get down here and see if I can get you a nice profile view of the track. It's extremely nice looking when you put it down because of the number of ties in it, I think, and I have seen it put down. But anyway, let's move on, and we'll do microengineering next, since it starts with M. Okay, everyone, here is microengineering's track. You've seen the comparison between all of them. Here's a low-profile shot of the microengineering track, which I think looks... I think the rail looks a little bit more bulky than the Atlas 55. Maybe it's just me. I haven't, I don't really know whether it's wider or what, but it's still a very nice-looking track. The concrete tie track, I think, is exceptional if you're doing modern stuff. And they're the only ones that make a 55 concrete that I'm aware of. Maybe Pico makes a concrete 55. But nevertheless, and I don't think I brought any of that out. But anyways, we'll get into that in a minute. But it's really nice looking track. Microengineering does a nice job. One other thing is it's all made in the United States. As far as I'm concerned, that's a huge plus. Their turnouts are extremely nice, I feel like. The unfortunate part is they don't have a vast assortment of them available. So you've either got to mix and match with some other brands, or you've got to use what they have. And these are all number 6s. Is what they produce, which is not a bad thing. But there's just no Ys. There's nothing else. So you have to resort to using somebody else's turnouts, which I think is unfortunate. But still, nice track. If you can live with all of the all number 6 turnouts, which I probably could, that's a good thing. Another nice thing that microengineering does is they make these transition joiners. They're the only one I know of that is making these transition joiners. I don't know. Atlas may have made some at one time. I don't know. I'm sure somebody will correct me. But nevertheless, these are code 80 to 55, and these are code 70 to 55. And it's just kind of a handy thing and they have them from 55 to 40 also, and they make 40 rail, which is extremely nice looking, but a little complicated to use if you don't have all modern equipment, of course. But it is nice looking stuff for secondary rails. So that's pretty much it on what I have to say about microengineering. Like I say, they make a good product. And they're back in production pretty well now. They were having a hard time keeping up when Atlas was not making their track. But like I say, I do compliment them for making all of this in the United States. I just wish they'd make a few more different choices in turnouts. So that's the opinion there. And obviously all these turnouts that we're going to discuss are going to require some type of external switch machine. That's just kind of a given. So let's move on to Pico. Okay, everybody, here is an assortment of Pico stuff. Like I say, I didn't bring the Pico concrete for some reason. It's nice looking as well, and it's constructed in the same manner as their 55. If you look down at a profile of the Pico 55, it also is extremely nice looking. The thing is, when you get off to the side of it, you can really notice the wide gap between the ties. Once you ballast the track, I have found that not to be as critical looking as it does when you're looking at a piece of track sitting on a bench. There's a unique feature to Pico 55 in that it's actually code 80 high. The bottom part is embedded into the tie strip, And one of the cool things, I think, and I'll try and get a still picture of it so you can see the end of the track there, or the end of the rail better. But it has two base flanges on it, and you actually put the joiners on the base flange. So when you put two pieces of this track together, your joiner is actually kind of hidden in amongst the ties, as opposed to being right out there in the open. I think that's kind of a cool thing. Another thing is, because the bottom of it's embedded into the tie strip, you literally could almost tie this stuff in a knot and not ever have that track come out of that tie strip, literally. This stuff can be manhandled like crazy, and you never have to worry about damaging it. It's foolproof for people who say don't have a lot of track laying experience and being gentle and stuff. I mean, we all have our different abilities and things, but I'm just saying that this is a lot more rugged to be able to lay this track. That's one of the features I do like about it. And everybody doesn't like the fact that it's European tie spacing, but maybe someday Pico will make European tie spacing track line. I don't know. Every time you try and ask them about that, they kind of put you off. But they have done it in HO, as you guys, most of you guys know. Now, moving on, they have a very good, what I consider a very good selection of turnouts. You can see there's a nice three-way turnout there. There's a curved turnout. They also are the only ones that are making a double crossover in code 55. The only thing I can tell you about this crossover is that it's a little bit on the complicated side to wire up. And while I haven't wired one up, I have read the directions and I couldn't understand it. So obviously there's people that do, because I sell them, and they do work. And this track is, like I say, all the Pico track is extremely rugged. I had some Pico 55 that I took on and off 2 or 3 different layouts, and it was still rescuable. Whereas some of this more fragile 55, I don't know if it could be unless you were really had a lot of finesse. But nevertheless, I didn't drag a whole lot of turnouts out, but you can certainly look on anyone's website and find out the amount of 55 turnouts that Pico offers. And I think it's a very good selection. I think it's a very good choice for durability. It would obviously win the prize in the durability contest. And now I'm going to take a couple of pictures, close-up pictures of the ends of these different rails so you can do a little comparison. Okay, gang, one thing I forgot to mention is Microengineering and Pico, the sticks are 36 inches long, whereas the Atlas is only 30 inches long. So that's something to keep in mind when you're buying the Flex from Atlas. I think any of them would be a good choice if you're going to do code 55. But you can take a look at this and see what you think, and do a little bit of reading on Google and find out the do's and don'ts with each one, and I think you'll be all set. Well, gang, that's it. I'm not a virtual wealth of information when it comes to Code 55 track. Like I say, I have a little experience with the Pico, but I do read a lot about the other brands, and we saw a lot of it, and we haven't gotten any bad complaints about any of it. So we're just going to fly with what I have here, and you all take care and come back and see us on the next edition, which I hopefully will be a lot sooner. You guys take care.